Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom, where we bring you engaging conversations and respectful disagreement across the social spectrum.
Injected with the quirks of everyday life.
Grow up as we navigate the complexities of this modern world with all the humor and warmth we can muster.
And the occasional gentle ribbing. We're glad you're here. Happy listening.
Okay, guys. Confession time. I am occasionally guilty of watching a 90-second TikTok about the economy and immediately thinking, yeah, I'm basically an economist now. Spoiler alert, I am not. Social media has a sneaky way of making us feel super informed after one meme or one video or one headline. But here's the thing. Does quoting a soundbite really mean you understand the issue, or you just like parroting somebody else's hot take?
Exactly. And let's be honest, we've all done it. Whether it's TikToks or Twitter threads, Instagram reels, Facebook memes, people act like repeating one line from any random corner of the internet makes them an expert. It's like WebMD for your brain. You read one headline and suddenly diagnose yourself as a genius or with an impending death.
Yeah.
Depends. But in reality, we're missing the nuance, the messy, the middle, the actual learning. And that's where real conversations get shut down before they even start.
So today we're diving into this idea that sound bites aren't the same thing as being informed. We're talking about how to actually educate yourself with multiple sources, how to open yourself up to hard conversations instead of running from them. And most importantly, how to progress in a divided time without adding to the division. So if you're tired of everyone shouting one-liners at each other online, stick around. This one's for you. Welcome to Two Millennials and Mom.
I'm Callie.
I'm Cole.
I'm Mom. So this one should be kind of fun today. I guess it has the potential to go off the rail just because I think so much of this, we get this crap thrown at us in so many different directions that doesn't have
any context.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
merit.
Yeah.
And who wants to be wrong? Nobody.
Nobody wants to be wrong, but at the same time, our brains don't really care. We just want to be right. And so whatever it does, we'd say to make us look right, appear right in that moment is what gets said sometimes. And I think that that's kind of a constant battle that we as individuals have to fight and say, no. I don't actually know this. I should do some research.
And that research sometimes is a little bit difficult. I mean, you and I did one yesterday. We had this great story that we were going to use, and it was so sad that it turned out to be wrong.
Well, not even, and maybe it's real. Like I said, I saw photos of it, but at the same time, like, not verifiable also makes it not something the hill I want to die on.
Yeah. But I've decided I've had to go to Facebook, which is not my place to go at all, but I've had to go over this last weekend. It always opens up to this really delightful story that just is so heartwarming. The motorcycle guy who his little niece runs to him and everybody in the store is like, what's she doing? And it's this great story about stopping sex traffickers. And that seems to be every time I open Facebook, it's one of those stories. And
Paul
you're
Newman
like,
at Christmas.
This is why I don't do Facebook, because this is just crap here.
Yep.
So much for community notes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny. Well, and I think that we have become, in general, I'm going to call it our news cycle for the sake of this discussion. I think our news cycle has become so fast and turns over so quickly. We have stopped kind of investing time into various topics even. Well, This is what the news said, and then they moved on to something else. So that's all that I've got.
I mean, it's a fire hose of information.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not only is it a fire hose of information, so much of the information that we get, even from allegedly reputable sources, is wrong.
Yeah. It's so funny because your dad and I are on totally opposite algorithms, and he'll come to me with a story and I'm just thinking, that isn't right. That's not what I've heard. And I'm much better at going to research actuality. I can't remember what he brought me the one about This 62-year-old man was raping this 13-year-old, and they were all mad because the father who killed him had to pay a big bail and the rapist didn't. And it turned out not to be anywhere near that story.
Every detail was wrong.
Every detail was off. And so, I mean, but you get all up in arms because here's this, child rapist, and he's gotten off with, barely having to pay any bail money or anything. And the father, has been penalized, and you're like, yeah, I mean, you do. There's a lot of emotion that goes into that on purpose. And then it's not even a legit story. I mean, like you say, every single detail was wrong.
Even on here's the thing, is it's all the way across the spectrum. Like, it's from the most serious stuff to the silliest stuff, like thawing chicken breasts or shrimp.
Hey,
so tell the story. At least put it out there now.
So this was probably 4 or 5 months ago now. I was about to cook a pound of shrimp for something, and Mom got so excited because I had this bag of frozen shrimp, and she says, I saw this thing on Instagram that'll thaw it in 5 minutes. And I said, well, you just run cold water over it and it'll be thaw in 5 minutes, but sure, let's give it a shot. And it was something strange. It was like,
I don't even remember
its own Ziploc bag, put it in cold water with half a cup of vinegar or something.
Like
while you're standing on one leg and blinking one eye.
Yeah, something along those lines, and it'll thaw it instantly. And it could be a solid block of frozen beef or chicken breast. It doesn't matter what it is. It'll thaw it instantly. And
it didn't. Instagram lied to me.
I mean, it's one of those things where if you slow down for a second and take a look, you're just like, there's no way this works.
I mean, maybe the science of it would have worked, but it didn't.
I'm not sure there was really much science to it.
Yeah.
Well, that's where my head went. So, anyway.
Well, if they put it on the internet, it must be true. You can't put false things on the internet.
I mean, that's the biggest lie of all.
Well,
Also
I mean,
true.
that is satire or sarcasm. But, Mom, here's the thing. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
I know. We all fall for them in some manner, some worse than others. But at least I think we have figured out to do some research and how to do, some of that research.
And, and I think that this is probably an important step. I have gotten to the point where it is my usual default to say, if this is true, then XYZ.
Yeah.
And I think that that's in general is a safe approach.
Yeah.
But to
you
say,
have to.
Here's something interesting. Let's take a deeper look at this. And a lot of the times, I would say a majority of the time, you go and look and something is taken out of context or some form of context has been omitted. It's just flat out bull. I mean, on occasion, you're like, oh, yeah, no, this is correct. But even on a lot of the ones that are correct, it's only correct to a degree.
Yeah.
Because still, even if it is in context, it may not be in full context. So it's a half truth.
Right. Well, and I think that we talked in an episode the other day about things that we would like to see everybody else doing and experiencing. I think that in a goofy way, having this podcast and putting this out on the internet has made all three of us in some form or fashion do a better job of educating ourselves because we know it's going to go on the internet. We know that we're going to be judged for the things that we say, and none of us wants to look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do worry about that.
Yeah.
How many topics have we said, oh, this would be a really interesting conversation? And one of us goes, I just don't know enough about that. There's something that I'm going to have to go and do quite a bit of research on just to be comfortable enough to have a casual conversation because I don't know about this.
But sometimes those casual conversations are really good.
Sure.
And we do learn from those. But I would also say at the same time that the three of us are having that conversation, we're also Googling, looking and trying to find more to base this on and more to figure it out. But I think there's such an emotional pull for so much of what you see. I think it's really relevant to remember that this is all for clicks. This is all for money. So whatever you see, there's a background to it. And that background is, can I get you looped in? Can I make this go viral?
There's
How
an
do we make
ulterior
money
motive.
off of this? Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a motive.
Yeah. I think even from the standpoint of this podcast, which, to be totally above board and clear about this, no one pays for us to do this podcast. There is no kind of sponsorship. There is no advertisement. This is the three of us in our lives setting aside time and resources to have these conversations and put them out there. And even those, we don't have some ulterior motive that says, oh, let's go trick the American public. Let's go trick our YouTube subscribers into believing X. I think that we have to remember that even then, there is still nuance that is missed when you're watching a 90-second short.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, here's the thing. There's nuance that's missed if we have a 90-minute conversation about something.
Yes, I agree. And I just think that we've talked about echo chambers and silos and things like this. I think that no matter where you are, whether it is an echo chamber or not, you have to go and diversify all of the things that you're putting into your brain, into your mind. Because the moment that you don't, it doesn't matter what is all being put in there is right or wrong, good or bad. It's only from one place. And that's really scary.
Yeah. So I think our goal really today is to just say, do your research. Don't just jump in on one thing. Don't believe one thing. Don't stay in one place. Please don't get all your information from Facebook, because I can guarantee you
somebody's lying to you.
I'm going to say at least 50% of the time, something's off there.
So here's kind of my question for you guys. Which do you think is more dangerous, misinformation or oversimplification?
Well, I mean, I think to a certain degree, those can be the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to weigh them against each other, though, because I think they're both goals and both bad. So I don't know how to say one is more dangerous.
I think oversimplification has the potential to be more dangerous because you can take a very broad topic, talk about a very, very specific portion of that topic, and make the rest of it, like you could almost take a very broad, use something out of context to illegitimize the entire subject.
Right.
Which is really kind of dangerous because misinformation you can go and find and say, okay, this is wrong. What they're saying here is incorrect, taken out of context. Because let's be honest, a lie by omission is still a lie. Like that's something that we've heard over and over and over again. So if you're telling me part of the truth and hiding a really important piece of that, you're still lying to me.
Or yourself.
Yeah, or yourself. That's a tough question, but I think particularly intentionally omitting context is probably the more dangerous of the two.
Yeah, pretty deceitful. And I think that that's one of the reasons. I mean, we kind of have this joke about there's more nuance, the nuance of everything, more freaking nuance. And we make jokes about it routinely, but at the same time, we're making those jokes for the reason of saying, hey, this is not the whole big picture. Hey, this is not everything that should go into this conversation. Hey, don't take what it is that I'm saying or Cole's saying or Mom's saying only to heart without verifying what that may look like for you and what that may mean for you and other information that we haven't gotten to yet or have missed. Or, I mean, our algorithms are all different.
Okay, the truth is that most of the time when we're making fun of nuance, we're making fun of it because that's Cole's favorite word.
Also
and
true.
We've just been kind of, ribbing him a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Well, because there's not another like term that I know, because oftentimes that extra nuance is really important.
Yeah. But it's a lot of fun to give you grief over it too.
Definitely.
I mean, Lord knows I give you enough grief, so you've got to
Lord
give
knows.
it back at some point.
This is true. This is true.
So we talked about this here a little while ago, and I'm curious as to your takes on it in this context. Do you think that these tiny sound bites exist? Think 90 seconds on TikTok out of a 90-minute conversation on a podcast. Do you think that these sound bites exist because people are lazy and not willing to invest the time into a 90-minute podcast? Or do you think our attention spans have actually shrunk?
I think it's a little bit of both. For one, I think they have been proliferated because of our shrinking attention spans and, in general, people's lack of willingness to go and verify, because a lot of this comes from confirmation bias. To say,
Yes.
oh, I don't like so-and-so, and someone else just told me that he said this really awful sentence, but they didn't tell me about the other half of that sentence that clarifies the front half to say, I don't think XYZ, and all I got was XYZ. So it sounds like this person is saying this really awful thing when in reality they're not. And in the moment, if you take the full context, get all of the nuance, they said the opposite.
I've had such a hard time because we did a podcast on Charlie Kirk, and because I didn't know very much about him and hadn't, listened to a lot, absolutely struck at the diversity of what people say. And I have to say, I came to the conclusion this week that I don't have a clue who he was, because everything that I've read has been so biased on one side or the other that like you were talking about, Cole, when you just take a little clip and you say, this is what he said, you think, ouch, but then you hear another clip that absolutely knocks that out of contention. And I've come to the conclusion, I have no clue if he was good or bad, if I would have agreed with him or disagreed with him, because not having watched in detail of exactly what he was saying, but only getting those little clips and those little bites, I don't have a clue.
I know that we could do this with our own podcast. We could go through and clip together some of the worst things that you could spout out and just show those pieces and make us look like awful people that we wouldn't agree with.
But at the same time, we have clipped out what we thought was funny or we thought was entertaining or we thought was interesting just to kind of be provocative in terms of a conversation. People read into those a totally different way than that was ever intended. Than
I don't
any
think
of
I
us
ever
ever
fill the
intended.
dishwasher now that I don't think about that.
Oh, for sure. What a toxic feminist I am. Yeah.
I literally yesterday was emptying the dishwasher and somebody had put the glasses on the opposite side of where I put them. And I thought, see, this is what we were talking about.
Right. I mean, I just think that kind of
Because
going
out
back.
of all of the podcasts we've done, that one thing is what has
Blew-
defined us. And you're like, wait a minute, that's 3 seconds worth of conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I think is dangerous, particularly as a creator, is to allow someone else's opinion on a 90-second, a 30-second, a 5-second excerpt. Let them get mad. Like, who cares? But
Yeah.
to allow that to
Penetrate your
penetrate
self-worth.
is just not worth the emotional effort.
But I hear what you're saying, babe, but there's also that part where people have gotten so violent. And, one of the articles that I read was talking about the professor watch and the professors who have gotten on that and the reaction that people have had to them. And you think, gosh, this is kind of crazy. I mean, because I do think if you go back to the dishwasher thing, I mean, we were just talking about the ease of filling and unloading the dishwasher. And it became this
man-hating,
yes,
horrible, nasty club. And you're just like, wait.
And so
what?
There's that other side of the reaction. And I hear what you say about don't read the comments and don't pay attention to people. But there's this other part of me that just goes, wait a minute. I mean, I read a really sweet article. I can't even remember, Callie, what was it about? Because I shared it with you. And the comments were just, they're 180 degrees. There are these people who go, thank you for writing this. We understand your intention here. This was the kindest thing that you could say. And then there are people who are just spewing vitriol. And you just think, it's the same article. Why are the reactions so diverse? And I think it comes from not just the algorithms, but I also think there's this anonymity that allows you to say things that you would never say to an individual face to face.
There's an interesting caveat I want to include here. I think we've talked about this a little bit recently. Are either of you too familiar with the dead internet theory?
Yeah.
The dead internet theory is essentially that like 80% of interactions online are fake. They're bots. They're not actually people.
Great.
And I think that has a lot of potential to exacerbate these issues. Because if I'm a real person interacting with something online and 80% of the response that I get is not actually a real person's opinion, it is just a bot that their sole purpose is to go and drive interaction through click-through rate, essentially. To say, this bot is trained to post outrageous replies just to get people to interact with it. Yeah, just to provoke people into interacting with it. I mean, it's
how did we come to this, though?
Money. We're fueling outrage. We can't solve anything because if we solve something, then we can't continue to make money.
Yeah, we can't monetize it anymore.
Right. There's no problem anymore. We were talking about 3D printed food the other day. Number one, I am the first person to try something new. I am super excited. I worked at a restaurant in college and I worked through all 51 dishes on our menu by the time that I finished working there. Like, I want to try new stuff. I am super excited about the idea of 3D printed food, but at the same time, I do not trust food companies to say, oh, this is what is going to be the best for Callie. This is what is going to nourish her body and give her fuel. This is going to be what brings her back over and over and over again. This is what is going to give her diabetes so that she then has to go get this kind of medication and this kind of help from the medical community so that we can keep her exactly where we want her. And I know that makes me sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I don't trust them. Because they've given us every reason. Who is it? Is it Maya Angelou who says, like, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time? The food industry has shown us that we should believe exactly who they are, and they have zero intentions of taking care of us, helping us be better and more fulfilled and satisfied.
You know, I get that monetization. I understand that part. Don't approve, don't like it. But, I mean, I can see the path there. If we're going to give you this sugary cereal that you're going to like, then you're going to become addicted to it and you're going to keep buying this. I see that. But when I look at what you're talking, Cole, about bots, for me, there's not a direct line that I can see that. Who's profiting off of it? Just some nebulous person out there that's just, because it's not like it's directing you to just one place, because then you'd know.
Sure. And that's the whole thing. That's kind of the strategy, is if you have, and it's may not even be specifically to direct you as an individual to a certain place. It may be to, in general, direct people to one side of thinking and have a different group of people pushed away from that side of thinking just to drive division, to say, I'm mad at you, so I'm going to scream about it on the internet, and then we're going to keep screaming at each other, even though what we think really isn't all that far apart. because we've read bot A's post and you read bot B's post, and now we both have things that are entirely irrelevant that we're using as talking points. These, and not even really a soundbite, but just some post from the internet that said, oh, XYZ. But it also, like, there's been a huge problem on a lot of the streaming services where they are botting viewer counts. So these guys are getting paid based on the number of viewers that they have consistently, and 30, 40, 60, 70, 80% of their viewership is botted, where it's not actually people watching their stream. It's this service, and like sometimes it's not intentional, because maybe somebody has gone and they've paid a bot farm X amount of dollars to say, hey, I really like this streamer and I like what they have to say about XYZ, so I want to boost their influence, so I'm going to go pay for 50, 100, 2,000, 20,000 viewer bots to go through and boost their stream. There's also an issue with embedding, where like there are very specific tools that you can use on the internet. Let's say you have like a kind of like a Wikipedia page that's like a fan page for a certain video game. Well, you can go in and embed your stream 7 or 8 times on one page. And so if anybody goes and views that page, they count as 7 or 8 viewers. And if it's a popular resource for like a game guide or something, then a lot of people, everybody who's playing that game, may go check that resource constantly, and it's lifting their viewership because it's embedded. And so they're getting ad revenue from stuff like that because those embedded streams are playing ads. They're getting boosted viewership on their streaming platform because it looks like more people are watching it, when those people aren't actually even interacting with the stream. It's just embedded onto the page that they're looking at. And so it again is a different method of just driving that monetization in a really kind of like false way.
You know, I listened to a podcast that is run by one of like the original influencers on social media. And there's this whole thing that she comes in and starts talking about how you don't want to have these inflated numbers, right? You don't want to say, hey, I have 5 million viewers when you only have 10,000, you know, because then you've got a company who will come in and say, hey, we're going to pay you to talk about our product and to sell this dishwasher cleaner so that you can do this. And we're going to pay you all of this money. But if they come in and say, hey, we're going to pay you all of this money because you have X number of followers, you're getting it in front of X number of people, and they sell one dishwasher cleaner, then all of a sudden they don't have any interest in working with you anymore because your numbers aren't real. You don't actually have influence. And so sitting here talking about all of this and how it reverts back to money, the strings, the lines that you're looking to draw, Mom, are there. Sometimes they're really clean and sometimes they're really not. And I just think that all of this, fueling outrage, not solutions, fueling inflated numbers, trying to overstate your influence. Like, I will be very, very fascinated to see what the next year of influence looks like on social media, just because lots of companies are coming out saying, no, we're not doing that. We don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
Because they're just now kind of starting to figure it out, and it's a little bit late, but because they've already invested so much money into these potential revenue streams, these potential marketing streams, and now they're saying, hey,
that was a bad call.
Not only is there a lot coming out from, but a lot of these streaming platforms are just hemorrhaging money because all of their ad revenue, all of these advertisers are saying, the juice is not worth the squeeze, man. Like we're not getting a return from this, so we're not going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's a good sign though, right?
It's a good sign, but it's late.
Yeah, it's a little bit discouraging that it's taken those corporations as long as it has. I mean, at the same time, like, not only is it a little bit late, like, I'm a little bit torn here because, like, I don't think cheating your way to get something is good. I also don't think that some of these corporations that are using these as potential ad revenue are really great corporations that have best in mind for society. So like, it's a little, I'm like, I mean, stick it to the man, but also, man, you're cheating. And I have a problem with both with both of those things.
Yeah. Do you guys remember A Million Little Pieces on Oprah's book club? It was a
No.
book. She still had the show, and it was a book. I can't remember the guy who wrote it, but it was, hey, this is my story, and it was really powerful, and it was really good. And she went out and started promoting it to all of these people and all of these places. It was a New York Times bestseller, and then it wasn't real.
Yeah, I already remember that.
She had told everyone that it was, and she was pissed.
I did that one time in high school. I wrote a paper, like I had procrastinated until like the night before, and it was a paper that was kind of a major grade. And so I wrote this like big kind of emotional sob story, and my teacher came and she was like, oh, blah, 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 I'm so sorry. And I was like, this isn't real. This is...
Did you tell her?
No, definitely not.
Trouble.
Just finding out about this.
So I think that kind of our next topic on this should be about educating yourself beyond social media, right? We talked about it a little bit earlier. You cannot live in an echo chamber. It will drive you mad, quite literally. But diversifying your news sources, getting out of your own confirmation bias. Mom, you and I can't remember what it was. We were talking about something via text message earlier this week. And I said something about, remember when cigarettes were good for you? And you're like, oh, they were never good for you. But there was all kinds of research and marketing that all said, oh, no, cigarettes are not bad for you. Cigarettes are good for you. And sugar is up there. That alcohol is not addictive or caffeine is not addictive. Like, you can go and find anything on the internet to make a case for whatever it is that you want.
9 out of 10 dentists agree.
Right.
How much did you pay those 9?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how did the 10th one not get as good of a deal?
Because 10 out of 10 looks too good. It's unbelievable.
So we're back to marketing.
Exactly.
So I think that just being cognizant of your own confirmation bias, I absolutely right now can go find information on the internet that says cigarette smoking is not bad for you. If I can only find it in one place and there are 75 other places to say it's bad, I need to take stock in those 75 other places, even if I really, really, really want a cigarette.
Yeah.
I do not.
And you know, Callie, you said something a minute ago about existing in an echo chamber will drive you mad. I think the most dangerous part about that is that if you exist solely within that echo chamber, you don't know that you're mad.
Exactly.
Everyone from the outside looking in can see it, but you can't, because all you have is these confirmations of what you're thinking. I mean, this one is ridiculous. There's a certain person that I have remained Facebook friends with that I don't think you guys are anymore, who posts a lot of things about like confirming flat Earth. And I'm just like, man, you know, this is like, I can prove this to you terrestrially with simple physics that the whole 15-minute video that you just posted trying to prove like is just completely irrelevant. Like, here's a link to a very straightforward Wikipedia page, and here's an explanation in layman's terms. Like, this is why the word relative is important. Come on, man. This is literally like middle school to high school level
Education,
physics.
yeah.
Yeah. And like, maybe at that age, it's harder to comprehend it, but they definitely talk about it and teach about this stuff. You kind of have to put it together, but still, like, you sound crazy right now, but to you don't.
No, because there's scientific studies that tells you that your brain wants the easiest way. And so, and once it sees a pattern, it goes with that pattern and it stays with that pattern. And so, and it's hard because you think, I can't even trust my own brain because it's used to this pattern.
And it's so reinforced by algorithms.
Yeah.
Hey, you want flat Earth content? Let me give it to you. Let me give it to you from all these different places, anything that I can find, because I want your eyeballs. I don't care what we're talking about. I just want your eyeballs. It's crazy. So I think that one of our kind of like tips for this is to read across the spectrum. If you're talking politics, we've talked about a website called All Sides that is saying, hey, here's what the left is saying. Here's what the right is saying. Here's what the center is saying. And they just have weighted various news sources to say, hey, this is how they typically lean. It's so fascinating to me because you can get on there and you can see it doesn't matter what the topic is. Let's go back to the Barack Obama in a tan suit that day, which caused such an uproar. One side is going to say, the left is going to say, oh my God, he looks so great in a tan suit. This is the best tan suit we've ever seen. And then you've got another side that's like, this is completely inappropriate. I can't believe he's doing this. He should never. And so on the same topic, you just get that full swing. And so reading across the spectrum to get perspectives outside of yours, I think is really important. I think the next part of that.
How do you do that timely? That can be overwhelming sometimes because it's not like I want to read the New York Times and then go to the New York Post, who are opposite streams, and read both stories, really. And especially if you're on TikTok or Instagram and you're in that algorithm.
Right. But if you're aware that you're only reading one side, how do you not?
Yeah. And I think that kind of goes to my next point on this. Follow actual experts, not just people who are talking, whether that is reporters or whether that is influencers or the media. Don't just sit here and get everything from the New York Times. Go back to the Roland Fryers of the world who are talking about the economy, who are studying these things. Go back and look at it from different places rather than just a mouthpiece, right? Go back and read what your president what that executive order actually says rather than the Caroline Levitt version of it that she's putting out to the media. Read the piece. Read those laws. Read the studies. Watch the full speech of whoever it is. Get the full breath. It is. But I think in some ways, like Mom, using your New York Times thing as an example, maybe you're spending 15 minutes a day reading the New York Times. There's nothing wrong with that. But maybe you spend 7 minutes reading the New York Times and then 7 minutes reading somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So making that a priority to get that diversification rather than just all in on one place.
Do you think it helps to try to stay as centrist as you can and not, you go back to All Sides and they have center left and then far left, and they have center right and far right. And I tried to do center as much as possible, and I tried to stay as far away from the far ones as possible. Like I don't go to Fox News because I don't trust Fox News.
I spend a decent amount of time reading Fox News because I want to know what they're saying.
Yeah, but I also think it's really important that even if you're looking at a news source that is allegedly or known to be centrist, centrism has its own biases too.
Sure. We all do.
Right.
And I think write
that's
something
more important to read. Exactly. And so trying to say, oh, well, I want to stay in the center is the same as I'm only going to listen to the right or I'm only going to listen to the left. It's the same thing.
Yeah. It's still an echo chamber. It's just a more centered echo chamber.
Yeah. And so like what I think it really takes, and Callie, I really like your point of go seek out experts, but also don't just listen to one expert. Going back to that 9 out of 10 dentists, why did dentist number 10 say, I don't endorse this product? Is it because they didn't pay me enough, or is it because it's got lead in it and it poisons you?
Well, and there are scientists who will support your flat earth theory. So you kind of have to look at them and say, wait, where are you at and what are you doing and what else have you said out there?
But then I think that kind of leads me into the next part of it is, so we talked about reading the full speech, reading the full executive order, reading the full study, whatever that may be. But I think that being involved with, even if you're doing nothing but listening, being involved with long form conversations, whether that's debates, whether that's podcasts, whether that's town halls in their entirety. Mom, I don't believe that the earth is flat, right? We know this. I have no preconceived notions about the earth being flat. But at the same time, to sit down and listen to a Joe Rogan episode with this guy who's perpetuating that narrative is helpful for me so that I can then say, oh, wait, maybe this makes sense. Maybe I'm confused about this part and I need to go educate myself further. I need to go check 6 more sources somewhere else. And it just, I feel like sparks something in you to kind of poke holes in your own argument to then go and plug.
Yeah. One thing that I try and look for in a news source is news sources who very publicly correct themselves when they're wrong.
Yes.
Who say, hey, we were wrong about this. Let us correct the record because we were wrong about this. And to do that very openly and publicly, because one, that takes balls. It takes guts to do that. Like,
yep.
Nobody likes being wrong, but I have found in my personal and professional life, it is way better to just say, hey, I messed this up. I was wrong. Let me fix it.
God, I hate it though.
And it works, but it's so much better than sticking to your guns and dying on a hill not worth dying on.
Yeah. True.
And so, like, a lot of our major news network and news sources are wrong about a lot of things, and they may come out and correct themselves, but it's going to be on the 39th out of 52 pages on the newspaper that says, hey, 6 months ago we had an article about this and we might have overstepped. I think it's way different to come out the next day, put it on the very front page and say, hey, we said this yesterday. What we said was incorrect. We were wrong. Let us correct the record. I think it's really important to look for that. I think it's really uncommon.
We have talked about Tangle several times on this podcast because we all kind of listen to that or read that. And it's one of the things that they do very consistently. We've been operating this long. This is our 159th mistake. This is what we did. This is why we changed it. This is where it went. And you do appreciate that they've come back. And it's not just the same thing as we misspelled this person's name. It's we made a mistake here. We did the wrong thing here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's accountability
is sorely
to your
lacking today.
Viewers, to your readers.
To yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's very much lacking. And the more we can go about trying to combat that, I think the better off we are.
I mean, you kind of just want to run away from social media sometimes because you just know that you can't trust so much of it. And Cole, if 80% of it is bots, you kind of are thinking, what's the point anyway? I had an interesting conversation last night with a friend who is kind of in the same shoes where their husband just retired too. And she said, the biggest fight that we have is over his social media usage. And I thought, oh, yeah, I understand this because I think you now have people who have time to spend and can just sit there and scroll and scroll and scroll. And I think it changes, their attitude some. And I was just interested with her and we both left and said, if you figure out a way how to get your husband not to do this anymore, please let me know. And she said, oh, if you figure out a way not to do it, let me know. Because I think it's dangerous to spend too much time there, to take too much credibility from social media.
Yeah. And you can curate an algorithm so that you're not getting as much of that, particularly if you're not interacting with that content. If you're watching comedians and dudes jumping off of roofs or jumping bikes over ramps or working on cars or fishing, that's what the algorithm is going to continue to push to you. And every once in a while, you're going to get a Charlie Kirk, you're going to get a CNN, you're going to get a C-SPAN recording of a Senate hearing. And if you just scroll right past it, the algorithm is going to say, oh, they don't want to see that. Back to fishing videos. back to comedians, back to dudes talking about painting NASCAR sponsorships on warships. That's what you're going to get if that's what you interact with, because that's how those algorithms are designed. But so many of us have been trained to interact with the content that outrages us that it very much exacerbates that problem.
Yeah, it skews the echo chamber that you're in. You are an idiot. You are a moron. You're reading all of this wrong. Your beliefs are inconsiderate of other people. And you're just like, wait a second, hold on. And like you said a minute ago, when you're in that echo chamber, you may not know that you're mad. You may not know that you've lost it. And so getting out of that to say, oh my gosh, there is other air to breathe out here in the world. It's important.
It's not easy necessarily, I don't think, to educate yourself.
No. And again, it's like Cole said, it's a fire hose of information all the time.
All the time. That's why I think you have to step away from it.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot live your life on social media. We need to be interacting with real people in real time.
Go out and do things that would be cool to post on your social media instead of watching other people do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's great advice.
So do either of you have what I would consider to be a guilty pleasure news source that you know you shouldn't be watching and keeping an eye on, but you just can't help it? Like Cole was talking about, I have had to curate my algorithm and say, nope, not interacting with this one. Can't do it today. I'm just not willing to get outraged over it.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where if I'm scrolling, because for a while, like both my YouTube and my TikTok got pretty political, and I just got tired of it. I was like, I'm over this. Like, I know this is all bullshit. Like, I know this is all taken out of context. I'm just not going to interact with them. So if it comes up and it's any type of political, keep scrolling. Next one. Give me something funny. Give me something cool. Let me see a jet doing a backflip. Let me watch a comedian talking about something silly on stage. I don't want to interact with this stuff because I know that it's intentionally there to be divisive and to make me feel some type of way about something. And I'm not interested in that at this point.
I can't think of one. Do y'all think I have one?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, which one?
He's going to say New York Times.
I knew he would say the New York Times, but I don't just do the New York Times.
I was going to say all of the workout plans that you get on Instagram.
Yeah.
Waving your arms like this for 16 years will make your toes bigger.
It might.
So yes, I'm going to say that one. You've sent me a lot of those. And again, I'm not even like opposed to trying them, but you're totally hooked.
Yeah. Well, that woman's this big around.
Have you seen any of her ancestors to know if they were just that big around without having to do their arms for 16
You
years?
have a point. You have
Do you
a point.
know
You're
what her
not getting any
diet
more from me.
is?
Probably better than
Also-
mine. That's
Also
funny.
true.
I don't even think about those as guilty pleasures.
That's the perfect ones then.
Oh, see,
I
you don't
have-
know you're insane when you're insane.
Yeah.
I have one YouTuber that I like to watch pretty regularly, and sometimes he has some really hot takes where I'm just like, I don't know, man. And most of the time he clarifies. He's like, look, this isn't what I want to happen. This is just what I think is going to happen. And here's how I would handle it. Not to say that that's the best way to handle it, but here's how I would handle it. And I'm just like, that's a bit much.
Nah, bruh.
That's a bit much. I also think that, like, I don't listen to a ton of Rogan anymore. And I think that there are some episodes where are actually insightful, and some episodes where you're just like, I don't know, man. This is,
I
this
think even
sounds
though-
pretty quacky.
I think even though those, I don't know, man, instances, I think even those are what I'm going to call kind of the devil's foothold, right? The Bible talks about not giving the devil a foothold. Don't give him any opportunity to come break into your inner psyche. And I feel like this is kind of one of those things. Even in those situations where you're like, I don't know, man, the giving them the opportunity sometimes is scary in and of itself.
Yeah, I think you have to be real aware of those.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that if you come into it with a healthy amount of cynicism, skepticism for any topic, I think that's required. And
Yeah.
in today's landscape, it doesn't matter what you're watching.
Diversify your news sources. So
Diversify.
my next question is, have you ever changed your mind about something after doing real research? Hey, I saw this online and then I went and looked up actual information about it, like the gnomes.
Well, that one's right there. But yeah, I think there's certainly times that I've done that, and nothing just specific other than the gnome comes up.
I think, Cole, about that during the election season, you sent that video about RFK Jr. And I was like, I'm not sure I can go there with you. And then we shared a bunch of information and research that was like, hey, this is all taken out of context. And I think that was a really interesting situation, I think, for both of us. And I certainly won't speak for you, but oh, wait, hold on. This is not what I actually intended for it to be, or this is lying to me in these ways.
Yeah, very, very much so. And God, it's just so prolific these days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't want to participate. Like, I just am to the point where I'm so uninterested in it, which maybe is the goal. Maybe it's to infuriate a certain portion of the population and get them to participate to make it look really nasty, and to just make the rest of the population just disengage because they're so tired of all of it.
Apathetic. So that kind of leads me to my next question here. Do you think that the majority of people want to actually be informed, or do they just want to not sound dumb?
You know, there's an old saying about ignorance is bliss, and sometimes that's really the truth. And I think since we've started this and we've paid a little bit more, I have paid a little bit more attention to certain topics. There's a time that you kind of think, oh, I wish I didn't know this. I wish I, didn't have to deal with this part. And so I think that's part of it is that it's easier not to know sometimes.
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss until you're ignorant of the bus behind you, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being ignorant to something happening doesn't mean it's not happening.
True.
Yeah. I think there's another side to that coin, though. Because like, being ignorant of something happening can probably be beneficial too, because a lot of the things that are happening are outside of your control, and being upset about it isn't going to help either.
So where's the line on that, Cole?
That's hard to define.
I mean, Callie, you have a poem that you talk about, they came for so-and-so.
They came for so-and-so, and I wasn't a so-and-so, so I didn't bother with it until they came for me.
And so I don't know where that line is. How much can you ignore before they come for you?
I get what you're saying, but not everyone is out to get you. So being ignorant of some things is reasonable.
I don't think Callie agrees with you.
And that's fair. But, I mean, look, here's the thing. If there is a war between India and Pakistan, one, I have no way to influence that situation. True. I have no control over it. And I don't think India and Pakistan as a nation have ill intent towards me specifically.
So is the line only when the U.S. gets involved?
I mean, I don't think that that's the line either. And maybe this is apathy, but there's a lot of things that happen in the U.S. that are A, outside of my control, and B, don't really affect me. And I think that it's certainly possible that those things could have ill intentions towards someone else, but are not broadly ill-intended towards all of society. Do I think that makes those things okay? No, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. But I don't think that the conclusion of every instance of violence or every instance of persecution results in everyone being persecuted in the end. Can they? Sure. And I don't think that people in general, we should be persecuting each other, but also, I think that there are some ideas that are worth persecuting. Hey, we shouldn't let people target children violently or sexually or anything like that. Like, don't protect those people. the people that are committing those actions. Persecute those people. To me, that sounds pretty reasonable. But just because we're saying, hey, we're going to persecute pedophiles doesn't mean that I'm next because I like video games, that I'm even on the list because I like video games.
I don't know where the line is. And Cole, you and I have had this conversation over a variety of things to where you say I worry more than you do. And I don't know if I worry more or if I'm reading the wrong thing or exactly what, but I don't want to wake up one day and the world as I recognize it be so far gone. Yeah. That you can't get it back, that you can't recover. And I don't know where that is. And I do think part of that is social media that feeds into that and algorithms that feeds into that. And it is. When you don't know you're insane, you don't know you're insane. And so I'm constantly questioning myself of, am I reading the right thing? Am I recognizing the right thing? And I don't know where that is.
And I think that kind of leads us into this next little piece of it. I think that being willing to have hard conversations is really important, because without that dialogue, those polarizations only deepen, right? And so we have to be cognizant of coming to the table first and foremost. We have to be cognizant of not just being afraid of conflict, so we're just not going to have it, that apathy that we talked about. We can't come to the table only being afraid of offending somebody. We can't refuse to come to the table because we don't know enough. Like, we're never going to know enough to be prepared. They have a different perspective. They have a different lived experience. And so I think that we just have to be really cognizant of how and when we're willing to have those conversations. Being open to having
I think there's some discretion in there too. I don't think you can go and have like, I'm pretty able to have a conversation with you two because I know y'all are going to try to treat me fair. And yes, you may rib me. And Cole, there's a couple of times where I think you've kind of been a little bit more abrasive than I wanted you to be. But at the same time, I can still come back to you and say, wait a minute. Hold on. I get to have my opinion on this too. And I get to have my side. And so I think there's some discretion there. I wouldn't go to anybody and have a political conversation or even a Bible conversation or a Christian. That's just not right. You can't just throw up on somebody, some random person, about what you feel or how you think. So I think there's some discretion in there, but I think that those conversations need to be had. And I go back to this podcast changed an opinion of a friend of mine who came up and said, I had no idea how you felt about X. And I thought, well, that's so funny. We've been friends for 50 years and you didn't know this about me. So I think that was really interesting. So I think those conversations need to be had and sometimes we ignore them. And I think there's some discretion in there too.
Well, and I think that in order for the conversation to be a two-way street, you have to be prepared for that, right? You have to be prepared to ask questions and then listen to the answers. You have to be prepared to have questions asked of you and then give answers. And you're not going to know everything, and you're not going to be right all of the time, and you're not going to immediately convince them that you're right and they're wrong because you have
And that's okay.
And that's okay. I think that we need to be seeking understanding, not conversion. That was a completely unproductive conversation because I didn't get them on my side. But that's not really the goal.
But if you learned a little bit from that conversation and if it opened your mind a little bit, then it wasn't a fruitless conversation.
Right. What if they walked away with the same kind of mentality? I didn't convert them to my side, but I learned something about them, about the topic at hand. That's progress. And I think that we have been so trained. I'm going to blame Charlie Sheen personally. #winning. I think that we have been so trained and it has been ingrained in us for so long that winning is the goal. And I don't think that it is all about winning. I think that it's about conversation.
I think that's biological, honestly.
Biological?
Yeah, the desire, the drive to be correct, to win, say my thought process is the correct thought process. Because if my thought process is wrong, then that means I'm doing something wrong, and I've probably been doing something wrong for a really long time. And
Yeah.
that's really hard to admit sometimes.
Sure. But I think that we have to kind of keep in the back of our mind, I don't want to call it innovation, but originally humans were cavemen, right? What if we never evolved past that and we all still lived in caves and there was no wheel because it hadn't been invented yet? We have to be open to new things, new concepts, new ideas. And the only way that we get there is by trying. Let's see if this round rock is going to work better than the square one. Maybe it doesn't. I mean, I think that kind of goes back to the Lost Boys conversation that we've had here and there on a couple of occasions. We have to be prepared for failure. We have to know how to master failure.
Yeah.
And getting back up and saying, hey, we had this conversation. I didn't win. I didn't convert them to my side, but I learned something. They learned something. We're still friends, even though we disagree about this, and finding the good in that, allowing that to be enough sometimes.
I think we have to redefine what winning in that conversation means.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I agree.
And even failure.
Yeah.
Well, I think you should look at that conversation as, hey, we were able to have that conversation, get a little bit better understanding of why each other thinks about it this way, even if it had no significant impact. If, let's say, for example, an issue comes up and we vehemently disagree on, there's a vote coming up to decide how we're going to handle it, and you and I vehemently disagree, and we come and have a rational conversation. Okay, I think solution B is probably the better, and here's why. And then you ask me, okay, why are these the things that you're concerned about? Where does that stem from? And then you say, okay, well, I think solution A is the better solution. And I ask you, okay, why are these the thing that you're concerned about? If we would do that, and instead of saying, hey, you have option A, which is a shit sandwich, or you have option B, which is a shit soup, why can't we say, oh, well, what about option C? Because now we understand where each other are coming from. So we can come up with a different solution that tries to cover all of those concerns, or at least let's say I've got 5 and you've got 6 concerns that are completely different. We can look at our biggest concerns out of those 11 and say, let's get the 6 most important ones across the 2 of us with solution C, which works better for everybody in general. Instead of just picking the lesser of 2 evils, why don't we just say, let's not do evil? Let's not find a different solution to this.
I think that kind of stems from exercising curiosity over combat. We are not here to fight. We are here to learn. We are here to learn from somebody else and their perspective and why they feel that way, so that we can then make inroads into a path that works for both of us. It doesn't have to just be about putting somebody else down, winning over them.
And it doesn't have to be my way or the highway.
And I think that there's always going to be part of it that is knowing when you need to pause or when you need to disengage, because it's going to be futile, because it's not going to be fruitful. You know, there are lots of times where I have to shut my mouth. 5 minutes ago on this podcast is a perfect example. There was certainly something that I disagreed with, but sitting here and coming in with my zinger wasn't going to be productive. It isn't helpful for us to better understand each other and where we're coming from. And so I think that we all in general have to do a better job of being open, but also knowing where that line is, that this isn't productive anymore.
Because the truth is, there are some things that you're never going to come to an agreement on, not even a option C agreement on.
Yep.
Sometimes there's just going to be a divide.
Yeah.
But it's how you treat that divide and how you treat the person on the other side of that divide that makes the difference.
Yeah.
That's what bridges are for.
Yeah. They work both ways. Yeah.
I think that the other thing that is really important, and I have stressed this to all kinds of people in various industries that have been kind of under me at various different jobs and roles, I don't know is a completely acceptable answer. But then go find out. It doesn't stop at I don't know.
Can't be your excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious though, after having all of these little micro conversations that we're having here, what do you guys think is worse? Total silence or a shouting match?
I think it depends.
I could go
Yeah.
there with you.
Because there's silence as a punishment. I don't like the shouting matches at all because you've stopped listening if you're shouting, I
For
think.
sure.
But the silence isn't always golden either.
Yeah, I can go there with you.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't know which one is worse. I think I tend to say I'd rather have the argument
Yeah, me too.
so that we can get it done
Yeah,
than putting it off and ignoring it. And, I'd kind of rather have the argument. But if that argument goes into either silence or the shouting match, I've lost.
Everybody has.
everybody has. Yeah, you're not alone in that losing. Yeah. So, Cole, you mentioned a minute ago building bridges. And I think that first and foremost, building a bridge is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not immediately done, especially if the expanse is wide. So I think that we need to be really cognizant of how to build those bridges and recognize that it takes some time. And kind of going back to what we were saying a minute ago, even knowing when it's time to pack up, okay, I'm done for the day. I can't build anymore. I can't let this devolve into shouting matches of how the best way to lay these bricks or these materials may be, but also kind of not accepting silence as the way either. Building bridges matter. And I think that this goes back to, we had a conversation here several episodes ago about courageous participation. It's not silence. It's not shouting. It's making progress, getting the work done, doing the work, I think is really important.
Taking a step forward, making a step forward.
And being okay that it's just a single step.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm way off track here, but I think it also may be an important consideration to say it's okay if not everybody is working on the same project.
Yeah, for sure.
Say, I'm concerned about this, so I'm going to try and do something about it. I'm going to better myself. But maybe Callie isn't worried about this. Maybe she's not concerned, so I shouldn't be mad at her because she has different priorities. She's a different person.
Yeah, I think that's a
That's
great
valid.
point. Yeah, I think we need to remind ourselves that small steps matter, that convincing one person isn't going to change the world overnight, but it is progress, and accepting that and kind of counting those small wins. And I think that those small wins count for both sides, not just I get to celebrate a small win, but not them. I think it counts for both sides.
Yeah, so, I'm thinking about it from your bridge analogy here. If you've got two teams on both sides of a river building a bridge toward the center, if the team on the east side of the river gets 20 feet and the team on the west side gets 10, you're still 30 feet closer to each other.
Exactly. Keep doing the work. Do you guys think that we're more divided now than past generations have experienced? Or are we just louder about that division?
Both.
Yeah, I think there are certainly some that were more divided than we are right now. I also think that there were generations that were more unified than we are right now. I think those are both pretty clear
What
to me.
generation do you think was more divided?
Well, we did have a civil war that cost almost 1 million American lives, 2 million
Yeah.
American lives, where we fought each other for 5 or 6 years with some of the bloodiest battles on earth at the time.
Yeah.
I would say we were probably a little bit more divided then.
Okay. I can go for that. Is that the only thing that you?
That's the biggest one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
And, this is something that we've been talking about a little bit here recently. The history that we learn in school lacks so much context that
Nuance.
that I mean, I think that there were certainly some times, maybe even in your kind of childhood and young adult life, Mom, where there was a lot of division that maybe have not been represented as much, may not have been as well recognized because you didn't have this same proliferation, this water hose of information pounding you at all times. But
Yeah.
I certainly think that there were differences of ideas that were as extreme as they are now. I just, maybe they weren't as exacerbated.
As accessible, even.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we do have a fire hose. So, and I mean, we've talked about that. Sometimes that fire hose is just the clickbait to keep people revved up and agitated. I think it's there.
Do you guys think that unity, especially as a country, is a realistic goal? Or should we just aim for maybe less hostile?
Ooh, that's a really good question. You know, here's the thing, the American experiment, our version of democracy, it's not about everybody having the same process to get to the goal. It's about continuously working towards the goal from as many different angles as possible, because that's how you don't miss anything. So I think that you can have unity and contention at the same time. And I think that to a certain degree, those can benefit each other to say,
Sure.
hey, our end goal is X. I think we should work it from this angle. Callie thinks we should work it from that angle. Kind of going back to that bridge scenario, in the end, if our end goal is similar, then having different approaches to it, I think, can be very beneficial. I also think that we have to understand that, Callie, you and I disagree on a lot of things constantly.
Yeah.
But we still are unified in many other aspects.
Yeah.
And those two things can exist together, and they can be detrimental to each other, but they can also be beneficial. So I think both of those things are possible. You had mentioned, I think it was last week or the week before, September 12th, it didn't matter what political party you were in. We were Americans before we were Democrats or Republicans.
Right.
That didn't make us not Democrats or Republicans, but we were Americans first. I think understanding what that unity can and kind of has to be is really important. I think we've gotten away from that, but I do think that it's possible.
I think for me, it's that there shouldn't be hostility, that we have to come to a point where, and maybe this is, I mean, there are so many different people and so many different ideas and so many different things that it's not that we can all be united in one thing. But what we need to protect is to not be hostile in all things or in most things. And so I think while I'm not sure unity, there has to be an understanding there. And that may be as simple as we're all human beings and deserve to, to deserve to be treated kindly. If that's the unity and we can eliminate the hostility, it just should not breed hostility.
Yeah.
So, okay. Weird thought?
Yeah. Hit us with
Hit
it,
me
Mom.
with
What you
it.
got?
This was kind of fun. Mental Floss put out the 20 foods most mispronounced by Americans. So the first one got me because I say I say gyros and it should be euro or zero. I don't know.
I believe it
I've
would be
never heard anybody.
zero.
I've never heard anybody call it that. Okay. I'm going to spell because I've never been able to say the next one. ACAI.
Acai.
Say it again, Cole.
Acai.
I've never heard it pronounced that way. Pho.
That's how it's always been pronounced. Pho.
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 That sounds wrong. That just sounds wrong.
It's a different language.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire. Wash your sister sauce.
Wash your sister sauce. That's funny.
Gnocchi.
Gnocchi.
So I've always said it like with a yuck in the middle.
Ganucci.
Oh, God. Gnocchi. Gnocchi.
That's probably more right. Quinoa,
I like
Quinoa.
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 Oh, gosh.
caprese,
Caprese. Yeah.
caprese, charcuterie.
Okay, I can say it, but I can't spell it to save my life.
Oh, no, I can't spell it. But I have heard lots of people mispronounce that one.
Charcuterie boards.
Charcuterie boards. Macaron,
Macaroon.
tzatziki.
Tzatziki. Yep.
Did y'all say it right?
Tzatziki sauce.
Focaccia,
Focaccia.
bruschetta,
Bruschetta.
chipotle.
Chipotle.
This actually tied with croissant.
Croissant.
Ciabatta and edamame tied.
Man, now
Prosciutto.
I'm hungry.
No, Colin and I talked about that. And
Prosciutto. Prosciutto.
beef bourguignon.
Beef bourguignon.
Bourguignon. Crepe? How do you mispronounce crepe?
Crepe.
Crappy.
Crepe. And
Creepy.
Creepy.
mascarpone, ramen, and tiramisu tied.
Yeah. Ramen.
So I can
Ramen.
only hear Giada De Laurentiis from the Food Network going, mascarpone.
I thought those were pretty funny. 20 at
Yeah.
most mispronounced, and I think I maybe made about half of that list.
That's so funny. Nope, those were
So-
good ones, but now I'm
Mhm.
starving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could go
So let's
for,
wrap
I could
this
go
up.
for some prosciutto.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. You guys ready for a good news story?
I'm
Yeah, hit
ready.
me with it.
Okay. So in Silicon Valley, the land of startups, self-driving cars, and people who say things like, I pivoted into fintech, a group of seniors is proving that curiosity doesn't retire. According to a recent CNN story, a new program there is offering free AI courses specifically geared towards older adults. It's part of an effort to bridge the generational tech gap and help senior citizens actually use and understand the technology that's shaping the future. These aren't just passive lecturers. They're participants, and they're diving into hands-on projects, learning how AI works and exploring ways to use it in their everyday life. Some are experimenting with chatbots. Others are using AI tools to organize their photos or to write family stories. What's beautiful is the sense of empowerment that has been instilled in some of these folks behind the scenes. Many of these students thought that AI was way beyond them. Remember, you're talking about retirees, was beyond them, but now they're realizing, hey, it's not just for coders or college kids. One participant told CNN that learning about AI made her feel relevant again. And maybe that's the real lesson here, that it's never too late to learn something new. So, why Silicon Valley is usually known for the next big thing, this story was really about it being the next right thing, keeping doors to discovery open at every age.
This was a 17-year-old kid that started this, right?
Yes.
So a 17-year-old kid started just teaching his peers.
Yes.
And
I think it
has
would be
grown-
interesting to teach other high school kids and middle schoolers about this from somebody who's like them, who's not.
Yeah. But it progressed because he got into a facility and started teaching that older generation. And it was how to watch for scams and how to do chatbot. And it's kind of grown. And I think one of the interesting parts with him is that he doesn't want to stay in this. He's got a plan, but he wants to leave this in the hands of people that will keep going with it because it's been there are facilities that are calling saying, hey, will you come and have a meeting? And they're doing it. It can be done personally, one-on-one, or it can be done in a group setting where you're teaching, over periods of time to do it. But 17-year-old kid who started this.
I love it. That's one of my favorite parts about my job personally. A big part of my job is teaching people how to use a specific computer program. And I get people all of the time that I'm too old to learn this. I don't even want to try. And I can tell them, look, I'll make it really, really easy for you. We're going to put in about 15 to 20 minutes of legwork. And then from there, it's going to be 10 times easier because we're going to go through and we're going to do the hard stuff together. I'm going to show you how it works. And then I'll teach you the easy way to do it because we did the hard work to set that up. And we get halfway through the conversation and they're like, this is so much easier. Can we go back a little bit? I want to take notes.
I love that.
And you're like, yeah, we can absolutely back up a little bit so you can take notes. I had a guy ask me the other day, is it okay if I record this? Yeah, I'm recording you. You're more than welcome to record me.
It's just a fun idea. I mean, I think there's two things. You're not too young to teach something and you're not too old to learn something.
Yeah.
Old dogs can learn new tricks.
But I think it goes back to that conversation we were having earlier. You have to just be willing.
Yeah.
I don't know, but let me go find out.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good one. Thanks for a good news story.
Stay willing, folks.
Yeah. Open mind. Be willing. Don't yell.
Learn or die.
Quick or dead.
There's a difference. Love you guys.
Love
you too.